The first thing you see is the bracelet. Not the ceiling, not the light, not the faces above you. The bracelet. A white hospital band around your left wrist, yellowed at the edges, sealed under preservation glass. Your name is still printed on it. Your birthday, your blood type. The room number you had in 2026. Under all of that, there is a black barcode. You remember the nurse scanning it before the procedure. You remember the tiny beep, too ordinary for the last sound a dying person might hear. Now the same barcode glows under a blue beam from a machine built 500 years after your funeral should have happened. The beam stops. Someone says your name. You open your mouth to answer, but the first breath comes in too clean. No blood taste, no burning under your ribs. Just air, cold and perfect, inside lungs that should not work anymore. A woman leans over you. She has silver dots under her eyes and a voice trained to stay gentle. "Welcome back," she says. You try to sit up. Your hand moves before you believe it can. The fingers are thin but steady. The pain that lived inside you for 14 months is simply gone. You start crying before you understand the year. The woman tells you anyway. 2526, 500 years. She says it softly, the way people say numbers at bedsides. Your preservation worked. Only a few early patients survived the transfer. Your case matters. You do not hear most of it. You are staring at your hand. The bracelet is still there. Your name survived longer than your country, your apartment building, your hospital, and everyone who knew how you took your coffee. For the first 2 days, the future is kind. Your room has no corners. The walls curve like the inside of a shell and change color when your pulse rises. A tray appears before you feel hungry. Outside the window, the city rises through gardens. Buildings grow in spirals of glass and living wood. Streets run between orchards instead of traffic. Silent vehicles drift overhead in invisible lanes. The sky is clean in a way that makes you feel accused. On the third morning, your guide takes you walking. Her name is Dr. Elian Voss. She tells you to call her Elian. Nobody here uses titles unless they are frightened of each other, she says. You walk through a recovery hall where other rooms glow behind frosted glass. Some are empty. Some have figures sleeping inside transparent beds. On one door, a small green light blinks beside the word original. You ask what that means. Elian smiles too quickly. It means you, she says. The source. That word stays with you. Source. At the end of the hall, there is a viewing gallery. Visitors stand behind a clear wall, watching the recovery wing like a museum exhibit. You lift your hand without thinking and touch the bracelet. Most visitors wave. One woman does not. She stands at the far end of the glass with both hands pressed against it. She looks 35, maybe 40, but her eyes are older than anyone in the room. She is crying, but no sound reaches you through the barrier. You look behind you, because grief like that must belong to someone else. There is no one behind you. The woman says something. You cannot hear it. Elian sees her. For the first time since you woke up, the softness leaves her face. 2 attendants move toward the glass. The woman says it again, slower this time, shaping the word with her whole face.
Dad.
Dad. You feel the air go out of the room. Elian touches your elbow. We should keep walking, she says. You do not move. The woman behind the glass is still looking at you. Her face is too young for the word she just used. On her wrist is a thin gold bracelet with a square charm. Inside the charm is a photograph. Even from across the gallery, you can see the face in it. It is yours. Older. Smiling. The attendants guide her away before you can ask her name. That night, your room turns gold because the walls think gold means calm. You sit on the bed and look at your hospital bracelet until the letters blur. Elian checks on you twice. The second time, she brings black coffee. No sugar, no milk. You stare at the cup. How did you know? You ask. Your intake records, she says. But your intake records from 2026 say you drank tea. Before the cancer, before the nausea, before food stopped meaning future, you drank coffee black. You have not told anyone here that. The next morning your clothes are waiting on a chair. Not recovery clothes. Real clothes. A grey coat, soft from years of wear. A shirt with one missing button. Shoes broken in at the heel. They fit perfectly. In the coat pocket, your fingers find a brass key. It is heavy, old and ridiculous in a world where doors open by recognizing blood and breath. A paper tag hangs from it. There is an address written on the tag. No street name, you know, just 4 numbers, a district mark, and a small blue symbol. When Elian comes in, you close your hand around the key. She notices. Of course she notices. Those belongings were recovered from your continuity archive, she says. My what? She blinks once, then she smiles. Your personal archive. The language can be confusing. She asks for the key. You give her the coffee cup instead and say your hand is still weak. For the next 6 hours, you become easy. You eat what they bring. You answer memory questions. You laugh at the right times. You ask no questions about the woman behind the glass. You ask no questions about the key. At 2:17 in the morning, when the walls dim themselves to imitate moonlight, you get dressed in the grey coat and walk out. The recovery wing expects you to be asleep. The first 2 doors open because you are an original. The third opens only when you press the brass key against the panel. The panel should not respond. It does. The city at night is almost silent. You follow the symbol through transit halls, garden bridges, and a district where the towers are lower and older. Brick walls remain under transparent beams. Windows glow yellow instead of blue. The address leads to a narrow building with a green door. Your key fits. You stand with your hand on the lock, listening to someone moving inside. The door opens before you turn it. The woman from the gallery is there. Up close, she is not 35. She is older around the eyes and mouth. She looks at your face, then your wrist, then the hospital bracelet. You really don't remember, she says. You tell her you woke up 3 days ago. She nods like someone has died again. Come in, she says. The apartment smells like tea, old paper, and warm dust. It is the first place in 2526 that smells like anything. There are photographs on the walls. You see yourself at 29 beside a woman in a red dress. You see yourself at 40, holding a baby in yellow cloth. You see yourself at 56, asleep on a couch with a small girl on your chest. You see yourself at 73, white-haired, laughing in a kitchen. You see yourself in a bed near a window, old and peaceful, with the woman from the gallery beside you. And then you see the funeral photograph. Your own face, framed in flowers. Your knees weaken. She pulls out a chair before you fall. His name was Daniel, she says. That is your name. No, she says, because your face must have changed. Not you, him. Her name is Mara. She is 87 years old. She waited 18 years for the revival center to open your room. You look at the photographs again. Who was he? Mara looks at the wall, at the younger version of your face, holding the baby. My father. The word lands differently this time, not as a mistake through glass, as a fact. She tells you the story without making it gentle. For the first century after your preservation, no one knew how to revive a human mind without breaking it. Bodies could be repaired, organs could be grown, but memory was harder, identity was harder. So they built continuity models, not copies, the first report said. Training environments, built from preserved neural scans, medical records, voice fragments, photographs, preferences, fears. They built one from you. They gave him a childhood he did not have. They gave him a city, a job, rent, friendships, holidays. They gave him loss. They gave him love. They watched him become stable. Then they kept watching. Mara was born in the model's 34th year. She says this with both hands around the cup. You wait for the part where she says she was simulated too. She does not. Her mother was real. A volunteer at first, then his wife. The trial crossed a line so slowly that everyone had time to rename it. The model lived in a licensed domestic environment for 61 years. He filed taxes. He burned toast. He forgot birthdays twice. He sang badly. He took Mara to school in the rain. When she was 9, he built her a wooden desk. When she was 20, he cried at her graduation. When she was 38, he held her son before the boy's lungs failed. When he was 81, his heart stopped during sleep. The researchers called the trial complete. Mara called it losing her father. You cannot look at her. You look at your wrist instead. The barcode on the old hospital band seems darker in this room. Why, you ask? Mara almost laughs. Because you were valuable. Your preserved brain was one of the cleanest early scans. Your disease had damaged the body, not the neural structure. Your consent form allowed adaptive continuity testing. You signed it at 3:12 in the morning with 2 weeks left to live. You do not remember page 19. You remember the nurse saying the bracelet would make sure they did not lose you. Mara reaches across the table and touches the photograph charm on her gold bracelet. They didn't lose you, she says. They lent you out. The room is quiet. You want to say he was not you. You want to say she is not your daughter. You want to say the dead man in the photographs was software with your face. But the apartment refuses to help you. The worn place on the kitchen floor is real. The pencil marks on the door frame are real. The funeral photograph is real. And Mara, sitting across from you with your eyes and someone else's grief, is real. I don't remember you, you say. She closes her eyes. It is the cruelest thing you have ever told the truth about. Before dawn, she takes you to the back room. There is a device on the table, no larger than a pill case. Inside it, under glass, a band of silver light turns slowly. His memory archive, she says. Not everything, not every second, enough. Birthdays, arguments, the first time she called him Dad, the night her son died, the morning he forgot her mother's name and cried in the bathroom. The last recording is from the week before he died. Mara plays it. Your own older voice fills the room. It is weaker than yours, but shaped the same.
If he wakes up, don't ask him to be me, but tell him I kept the seat warm.
I hated him for saying that. The recording continues. But tell him I kept the seat warm. You sit in that room until the city begins to brighten. When you return to the revival center, Elian is waiting in your gold room with 3 people and no smile. Nobody threatens you. That is the worst part. They explain calmly. The continuity trial made your revival possible. Daniel's lifetime gave them the map they needed. His grief responses, his attachment patterns, his recovery from loss. Without that life, your mind would have woken up empty, violent, or not at all. They say this as if gratitude is the only reasonable shape your pain should take. Then Elian places a clear band on the table. It looks like your hospital bracelet, but new. Inside it, silver light moves in a slow circle. We can integrate the archive, she says. If you accept, you will remember Mara, not as information, as memory, holding her when she was small, the red dress at the wedding, the wooden desk, the rain, the funeral you watched from inside a failing body that was not supposed to be yours. Mara will have something like her father back. The city will have proof that continuity can be restored, and you will become something no one in the room can name. If you refuse, the archive remains sealed. Daniel stays dead. Mara loses him a second time. You keep the only life that belongs to you, even though it ended in a hospital room 500 years ago. Elian tells you to take your time. You almost laugh. You pick up the new bracelet. It is lighter than the old one. On your left wrist, the yellowed hospital band still shows your name and the barcode that survived 500 years. On the table, the new band waits with a different label glowing inside the glass. Continuity approved. You think about the man in the photographs. The way he burned toast in a kitchen you never saw. The way he loved a child before you knew she existed. The way he died believing you might wake up and need the world less cold than he found it. You think about Mara behind the glass, saying Dad to a stranger with her father's face. You think about your last night in 2026, the nurse scanning your bracelet, the beep, the relief of signing anything that sounded like hope. The future did save you. It just used another life shaped like yours to do it. Elian asks if you are ready. You close your hand around the bracelet. For a moment, you are not sure which answer would be more selfish. Then the old hospital band beeps once against your skin. The same small sound as before. Too ordinary for the moment when a life ends. Too ordinary for the moment when another one might begin.